Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jaffrey with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with US President Donald Trump's new strategy for the war in Afghanistan. The president, who has committed to more troops in Afghanistan, lambasted Pakistan for harboring terrorists. He also appealed India to help Afghanistan in the area of economic assistance and development. We have a report.
In a prime-time televised address at a military base near Washington, President Donald Trump opened the door to increase U.S. troops in Afghanistan as part of a retooled strategy for the region. Trump said his new approach was aimed at preventing Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven for Islamist militants bent on attacking the United States. In a speech with few details, Trump put pressure on Pakistan, India and NATO allies to step up their own commitment in Afghanistan.
We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. We have been paying Pakistan billions and billions of dollars. At the same time, they are housing the very terrorists that we are fighting. But that will have to change, and that will change immediately. Another critical part of the South Asia strategy for America is to further develop its strategic partnership with India, the world's largest democracy and a key security and economic partner of the United States. We appreciate India's important contributions to stability in Afghanistan. But India makes billions of dollars in trade with the United States, and we want them to help us more with Afghanistan, especially in the area of economic assistance and development.
India is the largest regional provider of humanitarian and reconstruction aid to Afghanistan. Indians are working in various construction projects as part of New Delhi's rebuilding efforts in Afghanistan. Experts in New Delhi welcomed US President Donald Trump's warning to Pakistan for supporting militancy.
If he recognizes that Pakistan is a safe haven for terrorists, then America must play its due role to make Pakistan unsafe for terrorists, for which I don't think he's in any doubt. He has to put pressure directly on the government of Pakistan and on the deep state of Pakistan, the ISI and the Pakistani army. There can be no ambivalence or waffle on this matter.
Afghanistan's ambassador to India, Shahida Abdali, has praised President Donald Trump's decision to commit US troops to an open-ended war in Afghanistan.
Finally, it's a strategy that has a clarity. Clarity in a sense that the objectives are clear. That Afghanistan currently is facing the problem of terrorism, and clearly saying that the problem of terrorism has a roots outside of Afghanistan. So the conditions-based approach is something which is very significant.
Afghan Chief Executive Abdulla welcomed US President Donald Trump's new strategy on the war in Afghanistan. Abdullah said the decision by the US should be considered alongside Afghanistan's call for neighboring countries to come together to work on related issues.
While this is the policy announced by the United States, which has a regional aspect in it, at the same time, our message as Afghans to our neighboring countries has been that our hands of friendship is extended. We are ready to work on all issues, related issues amongst us, and that's in our interest, and that's not just in our self-interest, but that's also in our common interest.
An improvement in Pakistan's attitude on the war on terror is long overdue. When the US toppled the Taliban regime and destroyed Al-Qaeda's headquarters in Afghanistan in 2001, the remnants of both structures relocated to northwestern Pakistan. Osama bin Laden hid in Pakistan for a decade until the US killed him in a raid. They didn't reveal to Pakistan authorities until it happened.
Afghanistan and India have many times warned Pakistan not to shelter terrorists as it's a major roadblock to regional peace and development. Moving on. Now we talk about Nepalese Prime Minister Sher Deuba's 5-day visit to India. Deuba's maiden visit since assuming office in June came in the backdrop of political instability in his country and at a time when Nepal is craving for huge business investments due to growing unemployment. We have a report.
Nepalese Prime Minister Sher Deuba arrived in India on a 5-day official visit aimed at boosting bilateral ties. In an outreaching gesture, Indian External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj received Deuba at the New Delhi airport. The visiting Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Deuba met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The meeting between the two prime ministers turned out to be fructiferous as the joint statement released by both the leaders contained extensive engagement both the countries would be involved in the coming future. The two sides signed 8 agreements, including in power and water sectors and for the post-2015 earthquake reconstruction projects. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said both the countries have agreed to enhance coordination and cooperation in the border areas to control floods and drug trafficking, and that the two sides must work on long-term solution which would be beneficial to India and Nepal.
नेपाल में आई बाढ़ के संदर्भ में बात करें तो मैंने भारत की तरफ से हर संभव सहायता का प्रस्ताव फिर दोहराया है। हम इस बात पर भी सहमत हुए हैं कि सीमावर्ती इलाकों में बाढ़ नियंत्रण पर कोऑर्डिनेशन और कंसल्टेशन को और मजबूत किया जाए और एक दूसरे के हितों को ध्यान में रखते हुए इसके लॉन्ग टर्म सॉल्यूशन पर सोचा जाए।
The two prime ministers also jointly inaugurated transmission lines which will provide another 100 megawatts of power to Nepal.
आज हमने संयुक्त रूप से कटैया, कुशवाहा और रक्सौल परवानीपुर ट्रांसमिशन लाइंस का उद्घाटन किया। इससे भारत द्वारा नेपाल को दी जा रही लगभग 350 मेगावाट बिजली में 100 मेगावाट अतिरिक्त बिजली और जुड़ जाएगी। हम अपनी आर्थिक साझेदारी के विभिन्न आयामों जैसे ऊर्जा, जल संसाधन, कनेक्टिविटी प्रोजेक्ट्स और भूकंप के बाद रिकंस्ट्रक्शन के कार्यों में साथ मिलकर के काम कर रहे हैं।
Deuba quashing all the assumptions of commentators stating China lobbying against India in order to make inroads into the country, Deuba said that Nepal's camaraderie and commitment towards India will always remain intact.
I assure you, Nepal will never allow any activities against friendly neighbor India, and there will be every support, every help, every cooperation from our side. I would like to assure Excellency.
Deuba also attended India-Nepal Business Forum, seeking investments by Indian business leaders for his country. He also said his government was committed to provide a conducive environment to the Indian businessmen.
We are ready to gather pace, and we warmly invite you to engage with us. We welcome you to do business in Nepal, invest there, create jobs, and nurture the new climate of innovation and entrepreneurship. I call upon both our business community to work together. This is the only way to advance our goal, greater prosperity by building on the strong social ties and heritage that we share.
On the occasion, Petroleum Minister of India asserted on the Indian projects that are underway in the interest of both the countries. He emphasized on the various initiatives being taken by the Indian government to further strengthen the bilateral relations between the countries.
अक्टूबर तक अगर आपकी समय रहे, आपको सुविधा हो, तो हम दोनों देशों की सीमा में भारत और नेपाल की पहला प्रोडक्ट पाइपलाइन की नींव रखेंगे और समय के हिसाब से उसको हम पूरा करेंगे। जो पाइपलाइन आने वाले कई सालों तक 2 मिलियन मेट्रिक टन कैपेसिटी को पाइपलाइन आने वाले कई दशकों तक नेपाल की आवश्यकताओं को पूरा करेगी।
India and Nepal share a unique relationship characterized by open borders, deep-rooted people-to-people contacts, and extensive cooperation.
Bilateral trade between the two countries, that was 29.8% of total external trade of Nepal in the year 1995 to 96, reached 61.2% in 2015-16, and with proactive leaders at the helm, it seems that the trade and cooperation is only going to strengthen in coming future. Now we talk about the rising incidents of enforced disappearances in Pakistan. For the past few years, abductions and killings of political and human rights activists has become a trend. The victims' families blame the security agencies for disappearances. We have a report.
Punhal Sario, a 58-year-old human rights activist from Sindh, is feared missing. The head of the Voice for Missing Persons of Sindh recently marched from the Pakistani cities of Hyderabad to Karachi to demand the return of fellow activists who had gone missing. The activist was allegedly abducted from Hyderabad by security forces on August 3. The police is denying to register a missing complaint, but Punhal's daughter and other human rights activists are running a campaign for his safe return.
इदारे का नाम नहीं पता जिसने मेरे वाल को अगवा किया, मगर मैं ये ज़रूर जानती हूँ कि पाकिस्तान के हर शहरी का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ रियासत और रियासत के हर खुफिया और गैर खुफिया अदारों की जिम्मेदारी है, मगर रियासत ने तो मेरे वाल की गुमशुदगी की FIR तक दर्ज नहीं की.
These recent alleged rights violations come just weeks after a review of Pakistan by the United Nations Human Rights Committee, which recommended that Pakistan end the practice of enforced disappearances and secret detentions. People who have disappeared are held without legal protection, making them much more vulnerable to torture and other abuses. The Non-Governmental Human Rights Commission of Pakistan reported that 728 people went missing in Pakistan in 2016 alone.
बिला किसी तफरीक के, सियासी तफरीक के, लसानी तफरीक के, नस्ली तफरीक के और किसी तफरीक के हम फिर पुरजोर मुतालबा करते हैं कि शहरियों को गुम करना बंद किया जाए, उनके जो आईनी बुनियादी हकूक़ हैं उनको कोर्टों के सामने पेश किया जाए, उनका कोई जुर्म है तो वो उनके बच्चों को बताया जाए, लवाकिन को वकला करने का जो है उनको स्पेस दिया जाए, और ये एक ह्यूमैनिटेरियन ग्राउंड पर अपील की जा रही है. मालवी के सामने हम भी ये बात रिपीट कर रहे हैं कि पुनल सारे समेत जितने भी बलूचिस्तान से, सिंध से और पाकिस्तान के दूसरे इलाकों से जो गुमशुदगी का सिलसिला है वो ख़त्म किया जाए.
According to Sindh Human Rights Defenders, a group that actively campaigns for human rights, around 160 people, including political and nationalist workers, students, rights activists and common citizens, are missing in Sindh. Some of these disappearances, an overwhelming majority of which is believed to be enforced ones, are up to 9 years old.
Not only disappearances of activists, but forceful conversion of minorities into Islam in Sindh is a cause of concern. To talk more on this, we are now joined by Lakhu Luhana, Chairman of World Sindhi Congress. Mr. Luhana, there are frequent incidents of enforced disappearances in Sindh. What is your demand to the international community?
We are seeing an unprecedented attack on Sindh's political and civil society and human rights activists. In last just couple of months ago, even in last week, almost 50 political civil society activists, writers, intellectuals, they have been abducted and we don't know. Not only that, since last more than 2 months in Sindh, a movement, continuous movement of Sindhi people, of most of the political parties combined together for the release of missing persons in Sindh has been going. And last week on Thursday, they abducted the convener of the missing persons of Sindh, Punal Sario. And then since then, they have unleashed this terror and fear, and right, center, left, every night, people are being abducted and missing. So, number one, within the Sindhi political fraternity, this is a deep understanding that CPAC is against Sindhi people's right to rule on their motherland, against Sindhi people's right. And therefore, there is an upsurge and they want to really kill it, that upsurge. So it's a very, very difficult situation, and that is why we want to work with all the people who can support us in that struggle. We need their moral support, because the Sindhi people's struggle, that struggle for missing persons, is a non-violent democratic movement. Even they cannot afford that, even they cannot tolerate that. They are not hurting anybody, but they're not allowing even the democratic voice to come out. So it's a very, very difficult situation. And that is why we want to request the international community, the UN, the European Parliament, the influential organizations, to press upon Pakistan, because in the 21st century, it is our right to decide the fate of our lands, of our resources, of our right to rule on our motherland. And that is being completely, vehemently, ruthlessly, violently denied. This shouldn't happen. So Sindhi people are carrying out this struggle against against the odds, and but it is really a very, very difficult and dark situation back home.
Thank you, Mr. Lohana, for sharing your views. Moving on to Maldives, which has been going through a political turmoil for a few months now. In the recent turn of events, Maldives' legislative body, Majlis, was captured by country's army at the commands of President Abdulla Yameen. Apparently, President Yameen, in a stringent move so far, has used all people and resources at his disposal in protecting the Speaker's impeachment. We have a report.
This men forming a security ring around Speaker of the Maldivian Parliament, Abdullah Mohammed, are protecting him from the opposition. Army and police personnel have been closely monitoring every movement of the members of parliament, keeping the parliamentarians from initiating the process of impeachment against Mohammed. Parliament sessions are held for short periods of time and are abruptly closed as soon as the demand for the Speaker's impeachment is made. The army has launched a crackdown against the opposition leaders on orders of President Abdulla Yameen. Yameen has ordered several stringent steps against the opposition over the last few weeks. Last month, Yameen used the police and army to stop the introduction of the impeachment motion against Mohammed. The Maldives parliament has been witnessing the turmoil since March, when the lawmakers seeking Mohammed's impeachment were removed forcibly by troops.
Now, the opposition is more than united and determined not only to impeach the Speaker, but the President himself. We are now joined by Salman Haider, a former diplomat, to talk over the issue. Mr. Haider, in light of the recent events, do you think Maldives is slowly turning into an authoritarian government and going back to pre-democracy era?
I don't really see that happening. It is not so long ago that Maldives was frankly authoritarian. It did not have representative institutions and structures, but through its own effort and in the changing climate of international opinion, Maldives did elect to take a democratic path, and it has sustained that. There have been problems, and currently the current crisis in Maldives shows that the problems have not been overcome. But I don't think this is regressing to authoritarianism. It's a question of trying to devise a proper balance between the different segments of government, the different sources of authority within that country.
Don't you think it is high time that countries like China and Saudi Arabia, which share close ties with Maldives and have been playing an active role in guiding Maldives' foreign policy, should interfere in the political matters of country now?
I don't think it's time for any external agency to get involved in Maldives' affairs. The best way to ensure that things work out is for others not to interfere. We have been careful not to be part of it. We are very close to Maldives. We have physically close, we have many connections, and we have scrupulously kept away from interference. When we have made some kind of contribution in ensuring stability and progress in Maldives, this is because this is only when we have been invited by Maldives itself. So for other third parties to come in and say, well, we will do this, or we think that you should do that, or the other, that seems to me to be could be damaging and even dangerous.
Thank you, Mr. Heather. Now moving back to the vibrant India, where ace fashion designers including Manish Malhotra, Ritu Kumar and Masaba showcased their collections in the recently concluded Lakme Fashion Week in showbiz capital of the country, Mumbai. We have a report.
Fashion lovers were dazzled by a glitzy show in Mumbai as Bollywood stars and country's top models sashayed down the ramp in the winter festive edition of the Lakme Fashion Week. Exuberance was in the air when the stars exhibited the most elegant of couture designed by the ace designers of the country with utmost sophistication.
So, and I love color. So we come up with the things, and India is rich with all the colors and all. Everywhere is different kind of color where all the people wear colors, and I think our skin looks great with the color. So so that's what we have come up with that idea, and we have actually, and then our belief is make it everything colorful from head to toe. Whatever we should design, it should be print or something.
Bollywood actress Nargis Fakhri, who turned muse for designer Anushri Reddy, set the ramp on fire as she strutted down in a yellow shiny lehenga with a pale pink dupatta. Fakhri was all praise for Reddy's bridal collection and said it would make brides to feel super special on the D-Day.
When you're getting married, you hope it's only once in your life. So you want to feel super special. You want to feel like a princess. And you want your wedding to be a fairy tale. And I think that Anushri's work entails all of that. And you really feel like this modern day fairy tale princess. So I'm excited for the brides that are going to wear this.
Manish Malhotra closed the gala event with the presentation of his lineup titled Tales of Indulgence. Malhotra's collection, including tuxedos and formal suits for men and cocktail dresses and flamboyant festive wear for women. Bollywood actors Aditya Roy Kapoor and Jacqueline Fernandez were the showstopper for Malhotra's collection. Kapoor walked the glass ramp in a monochrome suit and Fernandez wore a sheer black gown with thread work.
So for me it was my first because the Nexa colors were all black, chrome, metallic, and I've never done a collection in black for women's wear, so this was my first ever collection in black, and cocktail dresses is something that I've introduced.
This season of Lakme Fashion Week featured a whopping 33 celebrity showstoppers who donned a variety of dresses ranging from embellished lehengas to festive gowns. The grand finale was dominated by fabrics like tulle, net, satin, crepe, silk, taffeta and tweed with handcrafted detailing and embroidery.
Presently, India contributes a meager share to the global fashion industry, but a rapid surge in the Indian market and global recognition of Indian fashion in the recent history promises a certain and overwhelming growth in the Indian fashion market. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.